On today's show, 8 things that you need to do before you release your next single.
Cue the title sequence. I'm about 7, then realised it was actually 8. But anyway.
It doesn't matter.
30-minute music marketing for musicians who want to get better at marketing their music.
So, hi, I'm Greg.
Hello, I'm Sheldon, and this is 30-Minute Music Marketing, the show for independent artists and DIY musicians who want to get better at marketing their music.
Are you getting better at marketing?
We hope you're
music?
getting better.
We are.
I find that, as a reflective process, doing this show forces me to think about all the marketing that I'm doing. And as we've said in a previous podcast, that my shows and the attendance to my shows is up. And I do wonder whether that is part of this whole 30-minute music marketing process.
I think it's definitely beyond a coincidence.
Yes. So thanks very much for watching on the YouTubes or
Hit
the Facebooks.
Subscribe button.
Hello, if you're listening on the podcast, you're in luck because you can't see just how terrible Greg's jumper is.
Shut up! This is new.
Sorry. It's just workplace bands. So today, Greg, we're going to talk about singles. And we all know singles are great. If you're if you're any musician, never mind a DIY musician, it's a great way to re-engage your existing audience.
Yep.
It's a great outreach opportunity to try and find new fans.
Everybody likes something new.
Everybody likes something new, and we do as musicians just get excited about our next impending release, because it's almost like when you were a child and you used to make something and you'd show it to your parents or guardians, and you'd be sort of quite excited and waiting for their approval. So singles work in very much the same way for musicians. However, obviously, we need a good degree of preparation in order for your releases to achieve a certain amount of success, rather than just releasing it and going, oh, right, I wonder what I should do now.
Yeah.
So I've written down...
Is this kind of like a marketing plan?
What I would say is it's a marketing plan of sorts. If you did nothing other than these 8 points, I think you'd be on a very solid ground in terms of successfully marketing that release. In a marketing plan for a single that I might do, there might be additional sort of steps, and it might be more sort of specifically sort of timed out, but maybe as a quite a detailed bullet pointed list.
Yeah.
If you did nothing other than these 8 things, you'd be bang on track, I would say.
You'd be better than not doing these 8 things.
Yes,
and you might actually get a reaction.
Yes.
From your audience.
Yes.
What an audience. So we're going to start.
Start with number 1.
Number 1, allocate, we've mentioned this before,
Yeah.
a marketing budget. But then you put what on?
What on? Right. So we need to allocate a certain amount of money in order for new people, or indeed maybe even our existing audience, to actually see the video or to hear the music. So you're going to... And the thing, I know one of the questions you're going to be is, how much should that budget be?
Well, it is something, as soon as you mention budget, the next question that comes up is, how much?
How much? Well, let's try and quantify this in terms of maybe how you'd look at it maybe sort of 10 years ago, and you go, right, well, in order for a radio promo marketing budget, you'd need something in the region of at least £500 if you were putting that to some sort of regional radio plugger. And then maybe if you're heading towards national, you might be looking at £1,000. Right, so I'm not saying spend that much, but okay, well, that's a benchmark. What I would potentially say is, you, the listener, the viewer out there, you know yourself how good this particular piece of music is. And maybe,
Are you sure they know this? Because they're always going to say it's amazing.
I don't know.
Nobody ever says... it's almost like when you start seeing a new person and your mates always ask, oh, so what's your girlfriend like? That you're hardly ever going to go, well, she's just average. You're always going to go, she's amazing. And it's the same with music. You're always going to go, it's amazing. No one's ever going to go, it's just remarkably average.
Right, well, okay, on that basis then, how about working along these lines?
Go on.
In that, if your marketing budget is primarily going to be spent on things like YouTube adverts and Facebook advertising, which obviously links into Instagram.
Yep.
How about you allocate a certain amount of money And if that goes well and that gets you the reach and the engagement and the reaction that you wanted, then you keep on putting more money into the advert engine, as it were, and then you keep doing that. And maybe if
We were
you
talking a little bit about this the other day, weren't we? Because when I was talking about a band were thinking about getting a record mastered at Abbey Roads, and I suggested it would be better to spend that money on Facebook marketing, you reckon spend a tenner a day for a fortnight
yeah,
to kind of, so, you know, you're not talking lots of money, but you're still talking a reasonable investment.
well, yeah. So what I've done in the past is I've maybe allocated something in the region of about £300 on Facebook ads to try and get my piece of music out into the wild. And I've realised, actually, this is performing well. This is performing above average and maybe above my initial expectations. And the idea is, if this has got legs, keep throwing money at it until such point as there will always be a natural point where the performance of any adverts gradually declines. Maybe you've reached all the people who are likely to sort of reach it. So I would if you've got something that you would regard as this is a particularly strong thing. Obviously we're English. I would probably say at least £200-300 if you can afford it.
The only thing is, though,
Yes.
you will quite happily spend that kind of money because you know, through your skills and expertise,
Yes.
that you are going to get that back through people turning up at your shows.
Yeah.
So you know that there's not really a massive risk there. There's still a risk, but how, for the people, on the other side of this podcast, like the Space, for example, because they've messaged us again this week. So hi guys. They're not going to see that money back possibly for quite a while. So I suppose in some ways you're going to go back to the adage of it's a marathon, not a sprint. But if we were to go back 10 years and you were approaching this, would you still spend the same knowing that you might not get that back for quite a while?
Well, again, to go back let's go back 10 years and refer back to the radio plugger analogy. You could spend £500 on a radio plugger and you might get a couple of radio plays, and all you're going to get from that is the PRS on a couple of radio plays, which would be about, I don't know, tenner, 30, 40 quid, depending on whether it's national, regional. And that's all you've got. You've got nothing else to show for it. And anyone who might have listened to your single on the radio, you've got no way of contacting them.
No, that's a fair point. So basically what you're saying is that you've just got to accept it.
You've just got to accept it. If you want people to definitely hear or see your music, it is going to involve a certain amount of investment. You can rely on being 100% organic and having, a zero marketing budget. I think we've talked about ways of marketing for absolutely nothing on this particular show. But if you want as a cast iron guarantee of people opening their social media or going onto YouTube and seeing your product, then unfortunately that costs money. That's just the way of the world.
So maybe don't get that looper pedal and spend it on...
There you go.
So, okay.
Or maybe, spend a modest amount of money on moderately priced jumpers and invest the rest.
You're a kid.
Lovely.
Right, so...
That's point number one.
Point number one. So point number two, get your assets ready.
Get your assets ready.
I've
that
said
sounds
this to a few people in my time.
That sounds like the title of an urban track, doesn't it?
Go on.
So what are we talking about here? Well, you're going to need your mixed and mastered track, of course. You're going to need your cover artwork. You might need some new promo photos. I don't know. How old... When was the last time you had a proper photo shoot? You lot out there. Is it worth freshening that up so you could have some fresh new images to go with your fresh new music? I don't know. You tell me. So in terms of video content, Greg, at the very least, we could have a cover art video.
Yep.
That's nice and simple. So in other words...
Choose to Tube will do that.
Choose to Tube. What I will say is that's fine for YouTube. However, Facebook doesn't like static images.
Does it not?
In its videos.
And it certainly doesn't like you posting YouTube links.
No. But if you just have a still image on your video, with obviously constantly changing audio underneath.
Yes.
It doesn't like that. It won't give that particularly good reach. So if you know a little bit about video editing, you could use some sort of keying and key a color out and have some sort of maybe
Well,
motion graphics going on
That's,
underneath in the
because
background.
we've started doing this actually this week in terms of just having what looks like a spectrum analyzer of the audio playing and stuff. So would that work? Because
That
that's
would work, yeah.
effectively, although it has a still image, it has something moving, or like I suppose the videos that you did with the just of the live performance with the lyrics put in, that would be.
Because what
then again,
originally
that is
happened,
video, isn't it?
you know how video is more engaging and gets more reach than
Yes.
static images? Well, what people were doing is people were just taking JPEGs and making silent videos of a static JPEG, and Facebook was going, no, that's like you're bending the rules there. So sometimes, especially as we get into the next summer, into festival season, you'll see poster adverts for festivals. There'll be a modest amount of animation in the background to make it count as a real video, to make sure it gets the release. So that was your cover art video. You could do a lyric video,
Yep.
and of course the traditional music promo, if we were to call it, a standard sort of music video,
An acoustic performance.
a low key acoustic performance.
Excuse me.
That's quite all right. And you could also
One of my clients has started doing stuff in their kitchen, just an acoustic guitar in the kitchen. And to be honest, he's put these backlights on the kitchen, and it looks quite cool. I did suggest maybe you should get some people playing kitchen utensils as percussion.
I tell you what, the kitchen is. I do some impromptu band filming in the kitchen, and in terms of the lights, we've got two sets. It's absolutely brilliant. We've got two sets of lights there. We put the cooker hood light on.
Yep.
And if you're doing an acoustic performance in there, the reverb, I would imagine, Greg,
Well,
all those
all
early
those tiles,
reflections,
yeah.
brilliant.
So yes, the kitchen is obviously where it's at.
Now, in terms of a timeline as to when you drop all of these, things have changed. It used to be that when we were relying very much on sales, everything was geared around sort of day one. So what might happen is you might have released the lyric video 1 week before release, and then you'd release the music video on the day of release.
Yep.
Those days tend to have gone now, because now we're going for the long tail, because you want your music to be consumed for as long as possible. And indeed, one of my band's biggest songs was played on national radio yesterday, at the point we're recording this, and that will always.
You just drop that in there, we just got
no,
played
but it's like that's our biggest ever song, and we want people to consume that, and that's now had a shelf life of 13 years, and we want to keep it going for, dare I say, another 13 years.
I'm sure
So we
you
can't let people forget about that. We have to get it consumed again and again and again. So that's the long tail. So what, in terms of the timeline, it may well be that as your single is released on Spotify and Apple Music, maybe that's the day that you put your cover art video out, and then maybe 1 week later, maybe that's the lyric video to re-engage your audience, and then to point them back to your streaming platforms. And then maybe a week after that, that's when you drop your full music video, again to reinvigorate that audience, get them going back to streaming. So you've almost got like 3 weeks of plays, rather than someone going, I'll have a listen to that. Yeah, that was all right. Then moving on and forgetting about it.
It's almost a bit like the opening box office at a cinema, where it's massive for that first thing, and then it just drops off.
Yeah. But obviously, in this day and age, in the world of streaming, we have to get people streaming again and again and again. So anytime you can remind them that it's out there, but put it in maybe a new format in terms of, call it advertising if you want.
Well, you're effectively just you're generating a variety of adverts to market the same product.
Yeah.
But people are engaging with it
to help it keep front of mind, as they say currently now in marketing terms.
Right, so that was number 2.
Yes.
So number 3, this is a new one for me.
Right.
So, and it might be a new one for the viewers and listeners on the other end of this podcast. It is submit for Spotify editorial playlists.
Now, you probably don't know this, Greg, but here we go.
I don't know a lot of things.
When your distributor, be it DistroKid or CD Baby or Ditto or one of the many other distributors out there, when you submit your music to those people, if you give it a long enough lead time, you can go to your Spotify for Artists page, which most people will have and know and use.
Are we going to
because
be putting up things on the?
you in post production, yes.
Okay.
So you can go to your Spotify for Artists page, and you
Can
can.
I just put this up at the camera just so it helps? So it will be like this, and it will be now over my face.
Right.
So you
there's
talk away.
a blessing. Right. So if you go to your Spotify for Artists page, if you go to Catalogue Upcoming Music, and then you will see potentially all your upcoming releases if you've scheduled a load in advance.
So that's that one, isn't it?
No. That's
oh right,
not that
that's. Oh, is it
one.
that one?
It'll be that one.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Okay. And so that gives you, Greg, an opportunity as an artist to submit that track to Mr. Spotify himself
Right.
for inclusion on their editorial playlists. The one that they sit in Spotify HQ, and they've got, I don't know, fresh folk or jazzy jazz playlists.
They're quite particular on their what instruments are in your song.
Oh yeah, you have to fill out and describe it in all manner of ways in terms of
A clarinet.
the genre of the track, the instrumentation that's used, the mood that it evokes. Really, we should almost forget about all sort of music genres from here in. We should just say, what sort of mood does your music evoke? Is it relaxing? Is it uplifting? It's those sorts of things. Really, what we need to do as artists, we maybe need to have a look at how Spotify classifies music, and maybe think more about those sorts of moods as we go about creating our releases. So you can do that for Spotify. What I will say is Spotify themselves say that if you do this, on average, you've got about a 1 in 10 chance of getting on one of their playlists that appear on the front page of Spotify in your respective countries. Now, I'm not a betting man, Greg, but 1 in 10's, that's pretty good odds. And our friend Donna, she got her one of her last singles. She got hers on a like fresh UK country playlist, and I got a massive amount of plays from it.
So all right. So regarding
That's new.
I know the battery ran out on the other one, right? So somebody left it on. We were talking about Donna. So
Yes,
in terms
Donna.
Of, and
So
she
she did
a
that.
national play. Was it a national playlist?
Yeah. Well,
So this is Donna Marie Music, by the way.
Hello, Donna.
Well done, Donna.
Well done to you. And obviously, well, strange enough, we're in the next couple of posts we're going to mention Donna again. It's a Donna featured show. So what's number 4, Greg?
Number 4 is get people primed.
So obviously you need to build a little bit of excitement within your existing sort of fan base and your existing audience.
Any time.
Well, how about because people are very forgetful. Maybe if we start, so like 2 weeks before we can get people ready. How do you best get people's attention? Well, as we've seen on using lots of social media platforms, broadcasting live is one way to do it. So it could well be that on the Friday, 2 weeks before your single release on the Friday, you do a little bit of a live broadcast as an announcement.
Just an announcement, just talk to the camera like we do every
Yes.
week, or do you actually mean play?
Well, I tell you what, you could do a bit of both. However, your live set, however much it incorporates. If you can perform it live, I mean, you could be, an urban band or a metal band. So if you can, if not, just a live broadcast to your audience to say it's coming out in a fortnight. I hope you're all hyped. You could even print out the artwork. Who knows?
Okay, that's cool.
That sort of thing. You could, if you're not going live, you could release maybe a tiny little bit of the music promo.
Do you think that works? Because a lot of people go, "Oh, should I only put like 10 seconds?" And you kind of go, "I don't know."
Depends if it's a good 10 seconds.
That's fair point.
Again, if you've got people who want to watch your stuff, then I might be excited.
Okay.
So or you could release some of that in studio footage. Who knows?
Which bands never seem to do enough of.
I don't like people watching me while I'm doing it. Get it out there. Nobody's bothered.
You just, people want to see real. They don't want to see.
Yes, I want to see you at your most raw, your most vulnerable. That's it. People think they're very vulnerable when they're in the studio.
Yeah, but that's.
Let people in.
Let them see your creative juices.
Stop pushing. Don't.
Yeah.
Stop pushing them away. Stop pushing them away.
So, you put here something to tease, but not give the game away.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to fire off all the bullets in your chamber.
You don't
You-
need to show all your cards at
Exactly.
the same time.
Trying to identify metaphors off the top of our heads. People at advanced age find that very difficult to do.
So, the amount of people I just see, it's like just drop. I had someone this week who wanted to get their stuff up on Spotify, and to be fair, not an unintentional plug to DistroKid, but the speed they get those things up, in terms of it's
it
really
is,
rapid.
yeah.
You know,
As long as there's nothing in terms of strange. They'll have a look at your artwork. That sometimes, if one of anything that's going to slow you down, it could be problems with your artwork or forms of capitalisation. Some stores don't like over-emphasis using capitals and things.
I think we got it on like probably 85% of all the platforms within 48 hours.
Wowzers.
Which is quite remarkable. But if it takes that long to do, it's okay. It's a shame that so many people don't do any priming. It's literally that's it, done.
If you're Beyonce, then you'll be able to generate a huge amount of promo just by dropping, a surprise single or a surprise album. However, unfortunately, we're not Beyonce.
No, I'm not.
No. So we've got to work that little bit harder and make sure people are aware of what we're doing.
I know this is a slight deviation from.
Don't deviate,
No,
Greg.
but in terms of like priming people, this is.
Yeah.
Did you know that Lewis Capaldi was the most busiest musician by NME? He did 154 shows.
That's all right.
in a year.
That's some going. They have to
And then
protect,
he
protect
actually-
his voice.
He did more than Billie Eilish.
Maybe he drinks a lot of iron brew.
Oh yeah, he's Scottish. I was thinking he's
Scottish?
Irish. Maybe so. That is the secret.
No,
but
no, Billie Eilish isn't out. Yeah,
yes.
we're winding ourselves up into a
So, but yeah, I was like, that's a lot of priming. That's like out 3 times a week.
yeah.
Kind
Well,
of
he's
keeping
making hay
yourself-
while the sun shines.
Well, he's gigged more than Ed Sheeran, which probably explains why, by maintaining that amount of public presence,
Yeah,
everybody knows who he
you
is.
can't afford to go away.
So yeah, you see, there is relevance.
Oh,
I didn't
I'll
say-
let you off. I'll let you off.
So we're going on to number 5.
Yes.
Get a pre-save link and push it real good.
Oh, nice salt and pepper reference there.
Yay.
So your distributor.
Have you put your teeth in?
I have put my teeth in.
Good.
They will normally give you a link, which is almost like the equivalent of a landing page, where your followers
So if you've
can
released
click onto it.
your music on, say, DistroKid,
DistroKid.
feel free to plug us DistroKid. And so they will have created a thing for you that you can then share.
So here's a little thing. You'll need to get your phone out, Greg. Oh, you won't be able to do it because you're holding a microphone.
Yes, and also I've left the phone on the chair.
Oh,
so I'll go
right.
like this.
So here's an image from our friend Donna announcing the forthcoming release of her single.
Yep.
And here is another image of said DistroKid pre-save page. And I've gone along, and because I'm a Spotify user, I have pre-saved that single on Spotify so that when the single is launched, it automatically gets inserted into my library. There's a better chance of it popping up in my Discover Weekly on Friday, so it'll pop up in my algorithmically generated playlist,
Yep.
and I will get to hear it upon the day of release. And if your fans don't do that, then they might not. So it's just
It's a
an
nice way
extra
of keeping
effort.
them up to date and reminded of all your hard work and endeavours.
So a pre-save is it's almost the equivalent of right. Your fans are going to get to hear this music pretty much definitely. So why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. So that's a good one. So this is, I mean, I don't know how many other people are already doing that or are unaware of it. It's new to me, so it's certainly something I'm going to be pushing to my clients because there's not many now who aren't releasing stuff via a digital aggregate because
Yeah.
it's just so cost efficient. So I presume we're moving on to number 6.
We are moving on to number 6.
So number 6, update your socials.
So the banners on things like your Facebook
Yep.
and your Twitter,
Yep.
they and maybe even your YouTube channel, who knows, they should all reflect the fact that you've got a single coming out on XXX date. And it may well be that obviously there's a little bit of text to remind them of that. It may well be that banner is a version of the cover art for the single.
And going back a few episodes ago, you actually didn't you show a free place that will give you the dimensions. That's it for all your, so you can you can remove the guesswork. Will it do it for you? I can't remember.
I think it has various. Yes, it has banner templates
Right,
for all the major platforms.
So there you go. Remember,
so you can go to Canva and do that. Also, as well, in terms of the links in your social media bios, it could well be that you use like a bit.ly link shortener and create a link to your pre-save page.
Right.
So because Instagram, it's always like link in the bio, bang bang bang, there you go. And I know from the fact that getting a national radio play yesterday, as I did on Twitter.
Have you plugged that twice?
I've plugged that twice per show. Maybe you can even get it into a third time. But on Twitter, I went to my Twitter analytics. I'll show you my Twitter analytics. Zing. But the first thing people do, even on Twitter, more so on Instagram, is they go to the link that's in the bio.
Right.
So people do that as a matter of course. And if that's where you want to, normally you might send people just normally to your website or whatever. But in this particular case, if you're trying to get people to pre-save, ergo listen to your music, then you just change for the period of this particular campaign, that's to your pre-save link.
So you've also put plus deets, as in details.
Yeah, plus your detail, so in other words, like I say, a version of the cover art and then some details as to name of the single and the release date.
Okay. So that is number 6. Update your socials.
Yes.
On a level of 1 to 10 on importance?
I'd probably say 6.5.
Okay, I thought you just said higher. So, number 7, identify who you are going to pitch to.
So far, we've only really been concerned about giving the information to our existing audience. And obviously, we want as wide a coverage as possible.
Yep.
So, ideally, we want to maybe send the track to radio. We
Yep.
might want to get music blogs to cover it. Or whatever other media outlets might cover your music, then ideally you need to be sending it to them. And I know lots of people will be sat out there at home or listening going, well, exactly who are these people that I need to send it to?
So you put here radio stations, blogs, playlists.
You got to pitch it to playlists these days, of course.
That's quite a big one now.
Yes, we could have an whole episode on that. If you're in the UK, what I would say is that there's a website called The Unsigned Guide. We'll put a link to The Unsigned Guide in the show notes. I have no affiliation with The Unsigned Guide, but I think it's a tremendous resource for DIY and unsigned musicians.
It is a good one.
So they list, and you'll be able to pop up a little screen grab here, now, bang. They list online magazines and blogs who might review your music, regional music websites and forums. Don't go spamming any forums. Become a member of it. Become a valued and contributor to said forum. Then spam them. Student press and magazines, radio stations, regional press. All that for a modest yearly subscription. You can find out details of all those sorts of people. You can use Submit Hub. That's something I've covered recently in my 60-second music marketing blog. That, for a modest fee, allows you to submit your song to playlists and to online blogs.
So
for
when you say
coverage.
modest fee, how much is...
I can't remember off the top of my head. It's not going to break the bank. Again, it costs something, but this is all marketing.
All hobbies cost money.
All hobbies cost money.
So you put here, do that and pitch. The earlier, the better.
The earlier,
kind of
the better. So, again, we're talking at least, if we can, 4 months.
4 months?
4 weeks in advance.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
Because what we tend to think is that because we're only concentrating on one music project, we forget. Well, we tend to think that ours is the only single or piece of music that exists in the world.
Yes.
And we submit to people going, right, 24 hours later, why haven't you reviewed?
Because they seem to think that no one else has got anything else.
No one else has got anything to do, and no one else will be doing exactly the same thing that you're doing. So you have to leave as much time as realistically possible.
Yeah.
So, 4 weeks before release date is ideal. And again, what we tend to realise is that a lot of artists will want to go, no, yeah, I'll have this out in 2 days. Thank you very much. When really, we need to think about at least a month rather than days before getting it out and available to the public.
So that is number 7.
Yeah, and that almost pretty much leads on to number 8. We've almost covered it.
Which is give yourself enough time. So on this basis, it's 4 weeks.
At least 4. Back in the old days when we were dealing with lots of, dare I say, printed publications.
Bureaucracy.
And we were posting.
Oh, it would be like 12
things.
weeks.
Yeah. 8, maybe 12 weeks for an album, 8 weeks for some sort of single. Obviously, the digital world has speeded things up.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you're sort of giving at least 4 weeks lead in to the release of a single, and we're releasing music on a regular basis, say every 2 months, what you almost have to think of, right, well, what you're probably doing is you're probably recording single 2 as you're starting the leading campaign for single 1, and it's almost like a conveyor belt. You almost have to be thinking a month or 2 in advance. So in other words, right, well, single 3, I'm going to need to be writing that, booking the recording studios for that, and I'm currently getting the marketing into place for single 2 whilst I'm actually releasing single 1.
For you, you're like a year ahead, aren't you? So with tour stuff. I mean,
yeah,
with one of the things that you're doing, you were already talking. I thought you meant this year. Then I realised you said 2020.
Yeah, so it's November 2019 when we're recording this, and we're all next year is all booked up, and we're now thinking about dates and venues for 2021.
Really?
Yeah, I'm wishing my life away.
That does seem very rapid.
Yeah. So things like, submission for playlists, reviews, radio stations, give it as long a time as feasibly possible. So try not to think about the immediacy of your release. Just think if you can push it back a couple of weeks to give yourself that little bit of extra time.
Because, as you've already said, you're not the only person doing this.
Yeah, you're going to stand a better chance of having it reviewed. And we're saying about submitting for Spotify editorial playlists. Again, that's a minimum of 2 weeks, ideally more if you can do it.
Right. So, a lot of very useful, interesting information. I'm not looking forward to editing this because I've got to remember where to put these photos.
You'll be fine, Greg. You'll be fine.
Have you got any questions?
Audience? Yes. Is there anything you'd like to us to examine in the wonderful world of music marketing, to give our advice on? Drop a comment in.
Yeah, please write and let us know what you think of what we're talking about. So that'll be it. So this weekend we're gigging, aren't we?
We are gigging this weekend. We're gigging in Preston.
And for those who didn't already hear, he got played on Radio 2 this week.
Yeah, it was all right. Sorry, twice. Got played twice on Radio 2 on the same day. And just thinking about that PRS, yum yum yum. Oh, just before Christmas as well.
Actually, the PRS on that will be you're not going to get it till June of next year.
Best radio PRS in the country.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty
listeners
good going.
equals dollars.
Oh yeah.
But enough about our chat. Yes, so subscribe if you're on the YouTubes. Give us a thumbs up if you're on your Facebook, and if you're listening to us on the podcast, rate and leave a review because that improves our visibility on that
Help
platform.
us help more people.
Yes, so we're marketing our own podcast.
Exactly. Well,
and until next time,
thanks for watching.
see you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.